What's up everyone, and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Islam Makhachev saying Charles Oliveira is easy money for Khabib. The lightweight title shot picture is a little unclear at the top at the moment after Charles Oliveira was stripped of his title for missing weight prior to the UFC 274 main event just a few weeks ago in Phoenix, Arizona. Oliveira beat Justin Gaethje by a first-round submission, making a statement and earning himself the status as the #1 contender. While it's unclear who he will be fighting exactly for the belt or even when, there's been talk that the UFC could match him up against either Beneil Dariush or Islam Makhachev. These two were supposed to fight for the #1 contender status earlier this year, but Dariush had to pull out of the fight due to injury. It's being said that Makhachev has the edge in being tapped to fight for the vacant title opposite Oliveira on account of Dariush being hurt and the fact that he has a 10-fight winning streak, second only to Oliveira's 11-fight winning streak in the lightweight division. But what if, in a perfect world, Khabib Nurmagomedov never retired and he had to take on Oliveira? Well, Makhachev believes that fight wouldn't go so well for the Brazilian. Case in point, this is what Makhachev said when he was asked by ESPN's Brett Okamoto about his thoughts on a hypothetical matchup between Khabib and Oliveira.
How are you gonna beat him? And how? He gonna give him some ambition or what? This is easy fight for Khabib because Khabib have most dominance grapplings in the top. He gonna take him down and hold him very, very easy,
What do you think about Islam's comments here? Would Oliveira be easy money for Khabib? And who do you think would win out of Khabib versus Oliveira? Kamaru Usman's recovery from hand injury to take longer than expected. We haven't seen welterweight champion Kamaru Usman fight since November of last year when he beat Colby Covington via decision after 25 minutes, successfully defending his title for the 5th time. But Usman broke his hand in that fight, and while he was able to finish the bout with the injury, he hasn't gotten back to full training on account of the surgery and recovery. Usman has been slated to fight Leon Edwards next, but that fight has been put on hold until Usman is medically cleared to get back into full training and into fighting. But according to Usman's manager, Ali Abdelaziz, relayed by Brett Okamoto, it looks like there's some complications involved with the hand injury, and it's not as healed up as they'd like it to be at this point. This is what Okamoto tweeted about the injury recently. Spoke to Ali Abdelaziz about Kamaru Usman's hand. He said, as of now, Kamaru has not been medically cleared and there's no time frame on his return. Kamaru only started slowly testing the hand this month. Doctors surgically repaired the ligament damage in Usman's hand earlier this year, and it was initially thought that he would fight at International Fight Week in July, but that's not the case. Welterweight contender Belal Muhammad alluded to Usman's hand injury being worse than it was earlier this year, saying that the UFC had not announced the Usman-Edwards fight, which means that there's certainly more to the story concerning Usman's hand. Despite all the hoopla about Usman's injury though, the Nigerian Nightmare has still been calling out boxing champion Canelo Alvarez. While there is interest on both sides, it's not likely to take place this year, if at all. But what do you make of this whole thing with Usman's hand? Do you feel that if Usman is unable to compete by November, the UFC would put Edwards in another fight, possibly against Hamzat? Or do you feel they would keep this Usman-Leon Edwards title fight for as long as it takes? Could Khabib and Tony Ferguson coach tough together? Remnants of MMA's most cursed fight is hitting social media, and there's interest on both sides to compete, albeit not violently. Tony Ferguson and Khabib Nurmagomedov were matched up to fight several times in their careers, but it just never came to fruition for several reasons, from injuries to COVID-19 to visa issues, tiramisu issues, you name it. It's the one fight that has been built up for years and actually was set up several times but never took place. But now, over a week after Tony Ferguson lost to Michael Chandler at UFC 274, Ferguson was on the MMA Hour and once again brought up Khabib's name. He mentioned how the two were in talks previously to coach opposite teams during The Ultimate Fighter, which again never took place. Either way, Ferguson seems keen to still be able to coach opposite Khabib despite respecting the fact that the Eagle retired in October 2020. This is what Ferguson stated to Ariel Helwani.
But I believe that when his dad said that we were supposed to compete, I believe that. So regardless, I would love to be able to coach against him in the Ultimate Fighter. How about that? For one, best man wins on the team. I guarantee you my coaching is a lot better than yours, Khabib. Not a lot of people understand that.
Well, Khabib is actually up to doing this whole thing and tweeted at Tony saying this: "Tony, I like the idea about TUF. Call your bosses and let them make an offer. But if they don't have ideas, I myself will offer you a deal on the Eagle FC platform. We're doing some business here, you know." Eagle FC is Khabib's MMA promotion, which has seen him sign several former UFC stars. The promotion has already had several shows in the United States and is a pretty good watch. So for Khabib to try to capitalize the hype of his former feud with Ferguson and the whole TUF coaching, it's pretty interesting, and it shows that Khabib has a pretty smart business mind. Ferguson was coy in his response to this, but what do you think? Do you want to see them coach opposite one another, even if they don't fight? Don't forget to take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the MMA Zone to stay up to date on the latest fight news. Michael Chandler believes he's likely to fight for the title after possible Conor McGregor matchup. Michael Chandler cut an incredible call-out promo following his devastating knockout of Tony Ferguson at UFC 274. He took the mic and went to town, calling out Conor McGregor, saying he'd love to fight him when the Irishman returns to the octagon later this year. The former three-time Bellator lightweight champion has been eyeing up a matchup against Conor for years, and now that he's in the UFC and in a great position to do so, he jumped at the chance to raise his hand for the Conor fight. This potential bout is incredibly fan-friendly. We all know how much of a massive draw Conor is and how his fights generate a ton of hype, from the lead-up to the bout itself. Chandler is also proving how he's one of the best fighters to watch in the octagon, no matter the outcome. He has power in his hands and the grappling prowess to go shot for shot with anybody. I mean, he was involved in the 2021 Fight of the Year against Justin Gaethje, so we know he brings the thunder. Chandler also believes that he's not far from a shot at the lightweight title, as he is still in the top 5 of the division. Case in point, this is what Chandler stated on a recent episode of Bussin' with the Boys.
But yeah, back to that. I think I'm on the cusp of being the guy who is in the conversation with Conor, and very few people get into the conversation with Conor. So obviously there you got to take it a little, oh, he's crying. There you got to take it a little bit more seriously, or put a little bit more weight in that, because I still think I go out there and I beat Conor, I'm fighting next for the title anyway.
Chandler goes on to talk about how he'd love to go to enemy territory and challenge McGregor in his home country of Ireland. But what do you think of Chandler's comments here concerning McGregor? Is Jon Jones planning on retiring sooner than later? One of Jon Jones' training partners is revealing what Bones said to him in private concerning his fight career, and it's making headlines around the MMA world. Yorgan De Castro, a heavyweight who fights under the Eagle FC banner, has been training alongside Bones, who himself is making a move to the heavyweight division. De Castro states that Jones just wants to fight a few more times before retiring. In a recent episode of the Portuguese language podcast Trocação Franca, De Castro stated what Jones told him with regards to hanging up the gloves. Ngannou will be out 9 months to fix his knee and then need 6 more months in camp. Jon Jones will already be 35, and Francis will be what? I think Jones fights once or twice more. He told me he'll fight 3 more times and that's it. But if he does fight Ngannou, it's hard to go against Jones. Jones vacated his light heavyweight title not long after he beat Dominic Reyes by a decision in February 2020 at UFC 247. That was Jones' last fight as he moved up to the heavyweight division but has yet to make his debut. There are a lot of rumors that Jones will most likely fight Stipe Miocic later this year, although this has yet to be confirmed. The 34-year-old De Castro believes that Jones will easily beat Stipe in that fight, but he also believes he'll likely compete against heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou next. If Ngannou and the UFC can come to terms on a new deal, then it's likely that Bones could call it a career after that or take on one more fight, but all of this is secondhand information. What do you think of De Castro's comments? Do you believe him? Or do you think Jones will stay fighting for several more years? Thanks so much for joining us today. What do you make of what's going on in the fight world? Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all the latest news from the MMA Zone. See you next time.